Courtney Shinemo. Chapter 6. It's alive! It was a rumbling sound, kind of like the one your stomach makes when you're feeling hungry. But I wasn't hungry, and the sound wasn't coming from my stomach or any of my other organs. It wasn't coming from me at all. Who was it coming from? I was alone in my room. At least, I was supposed to be. My heart started to pound. I clutched my covers close and looked around. It was dark, but there was a little bit of light coming in through the slats of the blinds. I could see the shapes of things. My bookshelves, my desk chair, my desk. Oh no, what was that on my desk? My heart pounded even harder. But then I remembered my slime pet. That's all it was. Phew. The room was quiet again. Maybe I'd imagined the rumble. Maybe it was part of a dream. I didn't think I'd been dreaming, but that can happen sometimes. Right when you're between being awake and asleep, you can confuse what's real and what you made up in your head. I let my eyes close again. Rumble, rumble, rumble. My eyelids flicked back open. That was definitely not a dream. A breeze blew through the window. Something fell off my bookshelf and onto the floor. It rolled over to the foot of my bed. I was ready to scream for Mom or Dad if I had to. But first, I peeked over the edge of the bed to see what had fallen. It was the bottle of dust from Grandma Sadie. Mom must have put it too close to the edge and the wind knocked it over. Okay, that was NBD, as Claire would say. NBD means no big deal. I almost left the bottle there because my bed felt warm and cozy, but then I realized that I might not remember it was there in the morning. I didn't want to accidentally step on it. I crawled out from under the covers and reached down to pick it up. The bottle felt warm in my hands, like someone else had been holding it, and the warmth from their hands was on the bottle. I squinted to try and see the dust. It looked like nothing. No, that wasn't true. Not anymore. Now, it looked like it was sort of glowing. My hand that was holding the bottle started to glow a little bit too. The bottle rumbled in my hand. I knew I'd heard something. I knew it. You'd think I'd start to feel scared again, but I didn't feel scared. I heard a voice say, "Open me." It wasn't an out loud voice. It was more like a voice in my head, but I listened to it anyway and started to unscrew the top. Then I heard Grandma Sadie's voice. "Don't do that, dear." I stopped unscrewing. But Grandma Sadie had only been worried about the dust being messy, and I'd be careful not to make a mess. My fingers were itching to open the bottle, so I did. A beam of light shot out of the top of the bottle. The dust was glowing and swirling around. I guess I wasn't holding the bottle tightly enough because jumped out of my hands. That's right, the bottle jumped. I didn't know bottles could do that. The swirly dust flew out the top and landed on my slime pet. It sparkled for a few seconds before fading back to nothing. The empty bottle rolled onto the floor. I picked it up and put it on my desk, far back enough that it wouldn't fall off again. But jumping bottles can jump even if you put them far back, so that wasn't good enough. I shut it in the top drawer. There. Now it wouldn't go anywhere. You okay? I asked my slime pet. He didn't answer. He looked fine though. You couldn't see what color he was because my room was too dark. You couldn't see what shape he was either. But that wasn't the dark's fault. He melted back into a slime blob again. Right when I was going to turn around and get back into bed, the rumbling sound started again. This time, it was coming from the slime. My breath caught in my throat. I felt my eyes getting bigger and bigger and bigger as I watched my slime pet. First, it started to glow. Then it started to sparkle. And then, you're never going to believe this. The blob of slime started sculpting itself back into the shape I'd made it. Its little arms grew back and it blinked open its eyes. Its mouth popped up and started twitching. It said, squeezing its eyes shut. I squeezed my eyes shut too. When I opened my eyes, I told myself, everything will be normal again. The slime will be back to a blob. I opened my eyes. Chew! The slime pet sneezed. Mom! I screamed. Dad, come in here! Mom rushed in. Piper, what's wrong? She asked. I pointed to the slime pet on my desk. It's alive, I said. Chapter 7. Still there. What's alive? Dad asked, coming in behind Mom. He flicked on the lights. There were little bits of purple slime on the carpet. What happened in here? Piper, did you make slime in your room? She did it after school when you were working, Mom told him. Oh, Piper, Dad said. You know making slime by yourself in your room is not allowed. I covered this with her earlier, Tom, Mom said. What I don't understand is how this room got even messier since I left it. It's not my fault, I said. The slime turned alive and it sneezed. That's slime snot all over the floor. Ah, Dad said. It sounds like someone had a bad dream. I wasn't dreaming, I insisted. It happened. I swear. I looked over at my slime pet. He was back to a slime blob. Come on, Pipe, Mom said. Let's get back into bed. It happened, I said. It really did. I'll rub your back for a few minutes, okay? She said. Okay. I got back into bed. Dad called goodnight from the doorway and switched off the lights. Mom started to rub my back. There, she said. There. I closed my eyes, and that's the last thing I heard before I fell asleep. When I woke up in the morning, I didn't remember everything right away. I like to stretch out my body before I open my eyes. First my arms, then my legs. My foot slipped under something warm at the end of my bed. Maybe it was a pillow or one of my stuffed animals. It felt extra cozy. I opened my eyes and looked down. There, at the end of my bed, my slime pet was looking right at me. I squeezed my eyes shut tight and tried opening them again. He was still there. I had to be dreaming. I just had to be. I pinched myself hard on my arm. Ow! Nope, not dreaming. The slime pet was still there, looking back at me. He was real. He was alive. I'd made him and wished that he could be real. And now, he was. I patted the bed right next to me. Come here, I said. Piper, time to get up, Dad called. His voice sounded very far away. The only thing I could concentrate on was my slime pet. It crawled toward me and curled up next to me. Hi, little one, I said. He gurgled and rumbled like he was saying hi back to me. My name is Piper, I said. I'm your pet mom. This is my room, so it's your room too. Do you like it? More gurgles. You know what? You need a name. How about Cooper? No, you don't look like a Cooper. Maybe Tucker? I don't think you're Tucker either. How about Cosmo? Because Grandma Sadie said the dust came from the cosmos, and the word cosmos sounds kind of like cozy. What do you think, Cosmo? Do you like your name? He gurgled some more and wrapped his teeny tiny arms around mine. That is the coziest hug, I said, squeezing him back. Oh, Cosmo, we're going to have so much fun together. We'll play fetch and cuddle up at night, and I'll teach you tricks just like Claire taught Buddy. Cosmo looked up at me like he was waiting for me to teach him something. You want your first lesson now, do you? Okay, I'll teach you how to sit. Sit, Cosmo. Sit. Cosmo didn't move. Sit, Cosmo, I said, and I pushed down gently on his slimy little butt. Cosmo sat, but when I moved my hand, his butt popped back up. I guess it's going to take some practice, I said. Piper, didn't you hear Dad calling you? Mom said. She pushed open my door before I even had a chance to answer. Mom, look at this. Why is the slime on your bed? I told you it was alive, I cried. I'd looked up when Mom walked into the room, but now I looked back down at my slime pet. Only, it wasn't a pet at all anymore. It was just a slime blob. Oh, Cosmo, I said. Oh, Piper, Mom said. Wait, bunch of times and pinched myself again, but it was no use. Cosmo was nothing but a blob. I don't know what happened.
It's clear to me what happened,
Mom said. What?
You got out of bed, picked the slime up from your desk, and brought it back into bed with you. The question is, why? Why would you do that? It's going to get all over your sheets.
I didn't do it, I said.
Piper.
I'm telling you the truth, I said. The slime turns alive when you're not here. It has something to do with Grandma Sadie's space dust. The bottle fell on the floor last night, so I picked it up and opened it.
Grandma Sadie told you not to open it,
Mom said. I had to open the bottle, I said. It was rumbling and glowing. But when I unscrewed the top, the dust shot out and landed on Cosmo.
Cosmo is the slime, I presume?
Yes, and then he turned alive. It was like magic.
You're a very good storyteller,
Mom said.
Maybe one day you'll write books like your dad does. But right now, you need to get ready for school, and this...
She stepped forward and reached for Cosmo. Be careful, I said. I don't want you to hurt him.
It's just slime,
Mom said.
I'm putting it on your desk. We'll deal with the cleanup and punishment when you get home from school.
She looked at her watch.
Shoot, I'm running late for a meeting. Your dad is making breakfast. Do I have to stand here and make sure you get dressed, or can I trust you to do it on your own?
You can trust me, I said. Have a good day at work.
Have a good day at school,
she said.
I love you, even if you're taking this slime thing a little too far.
Love you too. She gave me a quick peck on the cheek and walked out of the room. I looked over at Cosmo. Would he wake up again? Would he stay a blob forever? He blinked open his eyes and smiled up at me. Chapter 8. Back to school.
Here you go, Piper,
Dad said. He scooped some scrambled eggs onto a plate. Thanks. I put my backpack on the floor by my feet extra gently.
Whoa, you've got a lot of stuff in there,
Dad said. I made a project for school, I told him. It wasn't really a school project. It was Cosmo. I'd put him into my backpack along with a small blankie so he'd feel all cozy. I'd also cut a few small holes in my backpack. I hoped Dad wouldn't notice them. I didn't have any choice. I couldn't leave Cosmo home alone, so I needed something to carry him in. Something with breathing holes.
Orange juice?
Dad asked. Yes, please. He turned around. I bent down, unzipped my backpack a little bit, and rubbed the top of Cosmo's little head.
Here you go,
Dad said, placing a glass of juice in front of me. I felt Cosmo's body under my hand, turning from something alive back to regular slime. I was starting to understand the magic. Sort of. As long as I was the only one close enough to Cosmo to see him, he turned alive. But when Mom or Dad showed up, he turned back into a plain old slime blob.
We're running late, Dad said. You've only got 4 minutes to eat before we have to go.
When I finished, Dad handed me my lunchbox. He turned to rinse the dishes in the sink, and I unzipped my backpack again. "Hey," I whispered to Cosmo. "Sorry, I know it's getting tight in there." I stuffed my lunchbox behind the blankie. Dad turned off the sink. As I zipped up my backpack, I saw that Cosmo was a blob again.
Grab your raincoat, Dad said. It's supposed to rain today.
It wasn't raining yet, and we speed walked to school. Speed walking is easier for Dad because his legs are longer. I had to jog a little to keep up. Then I worried that Cosmo was bumping around too much, so I kept swinging my backpack forward and peeking inside. With Dad right there next to me, Cosmo was as blobbish as ever.
Is that too heavy?
Dad asked.
I can carry it for you.
No thanks, I said. By the time we got to school, Miss Serrato was already at the front of the room, getting ready to teach. I rushed to my seat.
Put your backpack in your cubby, Piper, she said.
I don't mind keeping it by my seat, I said. I wanted to keep it by my seat so I could keep peeking in on Cosmo.
Backpacks belong in cubbies, Miss Serrato said. As soon as you put your stuff away, we can get started.
Everyone was watching me as I walked to the back of the room. My cubby was the second from the end on the left. I hung my backpack on the peg and unzipped it to get my homework folder and also to check on Cosmo. No one could see him because I was standing in a way that blocked the view. He looked up at me with his big, dark eyes. I knew he wanted to climb out and play, but if he climbed out, he'd just be a slime blob. And if he was a slime blob, people might poke him or stretch him or hurt him. "Sit, Cosmo," I whispered, and I pushed down on his slimy little butt. "Good boy," I said softly.
"Piper,"
Miss Serrato called. I zipped up my backpack and returned to my seat. Miss Serrato said we would start the day with math. She turned around to write on the board, and I twisted in my chair to look over at my backpack. It was just hanging there in my cubby. How was Cosmo doing inside? Was he getting enough air?
"Piper, do you have the answer for this one?"
Miss Serrato asked. I whipped back around. "What?"
"Number 3 on your worksheet," she said. "Do you have the answer?"
417. Good. She turned back to the board, and I snuck another look. Once math was over, it was time for geography. While everyone switched books, I went to check on Cosmo and give him a few pets. I checked on him again when geography was over and we were moving on to our Spanish lesson. "Why do you keep going back there?" Claire asked once I'd returned to my seat. "No reason," I said. "There's got to be a reason," she said. "You have something in your backpack, don't you?"
"Girls,"
Miss Serrato said.
"do you have anything to share with the class?"
That's what she always said when she caught people whispering during class time. I shook my head. "No," I told her. At the same time, Claire said, "Piper has been getting up to check her backpack a lot."
I don't think that's any of your concern, Claire, Miss Serrato said.
I nodded, because Miss Serrato was right. It wasn't Claire's concern.
Then she added, "Stay in your seat, Piper." But after Spanish, it was time for lunch, and everyone left their seats to get their lunch boxes. I went to my cubby and picked up my backpack. My plan was to take it to the cafeteria with me. Miss Serrato stopped me. "You can leave that in your cubby," she said.
My lunchbox is in it.
"Take your lunchbox out."
I have something important in my backpack, I said.
"I knew it," Claire said. "Is it for show and tell?"
Maybe.
"Piper," Miss Serrato said, "I understand wanting to keep important things close. But whatever it is, it's safer to leave it here in the classroom than to take it to the cafeteria and the playground. It won't get lost if you leave it right here. Okay?"
Okay, I said. I put my backpack back in my cubby. Claire was standing so close. I knew she wanted to peek inside. I blocked her view as I unzipped it to take out my lunchbox and gave Cosmo a couple of goodbye pats. When I zipped my backpack up again, I left it about this much open. Big enough so if Cosmo needed a bit more air, he could stick his teeny mouth out. "Bye," I said softly.
"Did you just say bye to your backpack?" Claire asked.
"No," I said. Technically, it wasn't a lie. I didn't say bye to my backpack. I said it to something inside my backpack.
"Okay, Class 3B, Miss Serrato said. "Let's head out."
Chapter 9. Lost. I was thinking about Cosmo when I flipped open my lunchbox. Claire leaned over.
"What you got?"
she asked. I shook my head. "Nothing," I said. I'd never had nothing in my lunchbox before.
"Your parents didn't give you anything to eat?"
Claire said.
"Whoa. My parents would never do that."
My parents would never do it either, I said. At least not on purpose. My dad must have thought my mom made my lunch, and my mom must have thought my dad did. Do you have anything you can trade?
"Sure,"
she said. Really?
JK.
JK means just kidding. A few of the other kids at the table started laughing. Eleanor gave Claire a high five.
"I only trade when the other person has something good," Claire said. "And you don't have anything at all."
She was right. My stomach growled. I was hungry, and I knew I'd only get hungrier and hungrier until it was time to go home.
"You can have half my sandwich,"
Benny said. Wow, thanks, I said. Here, have a Twizzler too. I'll pay you back in Oreos tomorrow, I told him. When my mom packs lunch, she gives me 2, but sometimes my dad gives me 3, and I'll give them all to you. That's okay, he said. You don't have to. By the time we finished eating, it had started to rain, so we had indoor recess. A lot of kids don't like indoor recess, but I think it's pretty fun. You get the choice of playing board games, doing art projects, or just talking to your friends. I always pick art. Even though school doesn't have any slime making projects, I can draw things to sculpt into slime when I get home. Except today I was being punished, so I wouldn't be allowed to make slime for sculpting. Besides, I was worried about the slime I'd already made. Poor little Cosmo was all alone in Miss Serrato's classroom. I had to go check on him. I couldn't wait until the end of recess. There was a problem. Actually, two problems. One, Mr. Barry. Two, Mrs. Fisher. Mr. Barry and Mrs. Fisher are the lunch aides. When we have indoor recess, they stand by the big doors at the end of the lunchroom like they're the guards of us. You can't get out without going past them, and they only let you past if you need to go to the bathroom or if you're hurt or sick and need to go to the nurse. I didn't want to lie, but I also didn't want Cosmo to be alone. "Excuse me," I said to Mrs. Fisher. "Can I go to the bathroom?"
May you? She said.
"What?"
I'm certain you can go to the bathroom, Mrs. Fisher said. But you're asking permission about whether you may go, right?
"Right."
Yes, you may. Just as soon as one of your friends comes back with the pass.
"Oh," I said. "Okay." I stood there, waiting. It took a long time. Finally, Claire pushed open the door. She handed the pass back to Mrs. Fisher. "I couldn't get the sink to turn off," Claire said.
Is the water leaking onto the floor?
Mr. Barry asked. "Not yet," Claire said. "I put some paper towels on the floor just in case. Don't you think that makes me a good citizen?"
Certainly,
Mr. Barry said. Our principal, Mr. Goldblatt, started a Good Citizen program in our school. If you do good citizen things, you might get picked to do the morning announcements on the loudspeaker. "Will you tell Mr. Goldblatt?" Claire asked.
Sure,
Mr. Barry said. "Excuse me," I said. "Can I have the bathroom pass now?"
You don't need it, Mrs. Fisher said. I'm coming with you.
Uh-oh. If Mrs. Fisher came with me, I wouldn't be able to skip going to the bathroom and really go back to my classroom. "I can go by myself," I said.
I'm sure you can, she said, but I need to check out that sink. Let's go, shall we?
We walked down the hall to the bathroom. I went into one of the stalls and pretended to go while Mrs. Fisher fixed the sink. I counted to 20. Then I flushed. When I came out, Mrs. Fisher was standing there. She waited for me to wash my hands, in case I couldn't turn the faucet off. But I could. It wasn't a problem at all. It was like Claire made it all up. The rest of recess passed by super slowly. Finally, the bell rang. I was the first to line up to go back to class. I walked so quickly down the hallway that Miss Serrato had to tell me to slow down. We got back to the classroom, and I speed walked to my cubby in the back. Something was wrong. I could tell right away. I'd only left my backpack open this much. Now, it was open all the way. My heart was suddenly pounding. My hands felt sticky. I I was afraid to look inside my backpack. And when I did, Cosmo was gone. Ah! I cried out. Miss Serrato ran to me. Piper, what happened? Are you sick? Are you hurt? I shook my head. For a couple of seconds, I couldn't even find the words to tell her. I just pointed at my backpack. What? She asked. My very important